Hi guys, welcome to Learn Tech from Zero. Today we will be covering further CCNA topic. So let's start with today's topic. We have already finished section 1.1, so we are starting 1.2 today. And today's topic is two-tier network architectures. So it says describe characteristics of network topology architectures. So you know what network is? Network is basically when devices can communicate between devices when they're connected using internet and everything. So your home area is a LAN. When you communicate with people who are in different locations, you are communicating through WAN. So it's a network, so they're all connected together using cables. So this is a network. So different computers, they form a network. And then topology is how data flow between different devices. Architecture is the design that the companies or the enterprises they should follow when they have internet access for their employees or for themselves. So two-tier architecture, two-tier architecture and three-tier architecture are the foundation of networking architecture. So everything else is based on these two. So you really need to master those two networking architectures, and you should be able to understand networking properly in general. All right, so today's topic is two-tier. I will not make it too long. I will just give you a quick explanation of everything. You can read in details if you just go to the website, and then you can also practice 10 questions at the end to test your knowledge. Okay, so two-tier architecture, it has two main layers. So the architecture is basically when an enterprise there, they need internet access. So the engineers, they come in and then they want to design the network. So they will either implement a two-tier or a three-tier. So in two-tier we have two layers. So layers are basically how devices should connect. I will just quickly show you in seconds. So we have two layers: access layer and distribution layer. So in access layer, devices can connect directly to it and then access internet. And then access layer is connected to the distribution layer, and then which does all the routing and then quality control and then routing. Sorry, I've already explained routing. I just want to keep it as simple as possible. Access control list and other things. So some high level stuff which we will cover in the future. So today I will just try to keep it as simple as possible. I'll just show you a design of a network architecture. So you can see that there is a let's forget this section. We will just look at this one. So there is the internet provider, ISP, internet service provider. So that's the internet provider. It could be an example, let's say Virgin Media. All right, so that's the internet provider. And then you have a router which is connected to the internet provider directly, either through fiber optic connection or other ways. And then this is where the layers come. It says collapsed core, but it's actually uh, distribution layer. So distribution layer is also known as collapsed core, because in three-tier this distribution has one more layer which we will cover in the next video. So you can see that. So these two layers, so you know, when we say layers, they're normally just switches. So they're either layer 2 or layer 3 switches. So in access layer, where people access internet, which is this one, access layer, this is usually a layer 2 switch. And then access layer switches are connected to distribution layer switches, and they are usually layer 3 switch, which has routing capability. So you can see that the computers are connected to the access layer, and then access layer switches are connected to the distribution or collapsed layer. And those switches, layer 3 switches, are connected to a router for routing up to the internet. And then the routers are connected to the internet service provider. I have another explanation that I want to just quickly show you. So you can see that there are two distribution or collapsed uh, switches, and access ones, the ones that people use to connect their devices. If we are talking about Ethernet connection, physical connection, so Ethernet cable connection. So this is where people will connect using Ethernet cables to get internet access, and these switches are connected to another switch. These are layer 2 switches. They're connected to another switch, which is layer 3 switches, where it it does high level stuff, and then these are connected to the router, which is directly connected to the internet service provider. I don't want to go too much in details because it will make this whole explanation very long, but I just want to quickly explain you what happens in both layers. So I, I don't want to go into the theory, so I'll just explain you from my knowledge. So in access layer, you have, so basically in access layer, you can create VLANs. Okay, so VLANs are virtual local area network, so you can create VLANs in layer 2, right? And VLAN routing, so for VLANs, like so when you have different VLANs, and for them to communicate with each other, layer 2 switch is not enough, because layer 2 switch, they can't do routing between VLANs, and for communication between VLANs you need IP addresses, because VLANs can communicate with each other through IP addresses, and for that you need a layer 3 switch, because layer 3 switch can works with IP addressing same as router. So what they can do is layer 3 switch will create, basically route the communication between different VLANs. If you don't know what VLAN is, and then how those layer 3 switches communicate between different VLANs and everything, that we will cover later on. So I'm just giving you a quick explanation of this network topology architecture. And this is where you control the quality, so QoS. So this is where you control like what gets what priority. Like for example, audio and video, they should get higher priority than other normal data, and etc. So this is where it does all this work. And then this is where it does VLAN routing. This is where it does basically this is the layer where it's between the access and the internet connection. So this does all the high level work. We don't want to go too much in detail, so you can just quickly go to the website and you can learn them in details. And then access layer, they just, you can create VLANs, and then also you can create port security. So port security is basically, these are ports where you plug in Ethernet cables, and you can shut them. You can enable certain securities on those ports. And then when you create VLANs, maybe let's say these ones are VLAN 1, these are VLAN 2, VLAN 3, etc. So you can also categorize those ports into which VLANs they should be giving access to, etc. So I will just finish it for now. If you want to go through the whole details, just go to the website and you can go through everything. If you have any questions, you can leave a comment and I will explain it to you, no matter how complex it gets. Okay, so we can just quickly go through like 2 or 3 questions. Hopefully it all starts to make sense to you. So what are the two layers that make up a two-tier network architecture? So we have already went through this in the beginning. It's access and distribution. Correct. In two-tier architecture, which layer provides direct connectivity to end devices? End devices means computers, printers, servers, telephones, VoIP phones, cameras, etc. So access layer. Access layer is this one, or we can say this one, as I've explained previously, this is where computers or end devices, they connect directly to access internet, and this is where you get all the routing, all the high level work gets done. When you finish CCNA, you should be able to configure all of them by yourself, but we will cover them in the future. All right, so in two-tier architecture, which layer provides direct connectivity to end devices? It's the access layer. All right, let's just go through one more question. Which layer in a two-tier design is responsible for inter-VLAN routing and policy enforcement? So as I said, you can you can create VLANs in layer 2, but for them to communicate with each other, you need a layer 3 switch. So in that case, layer 3 switch is usually the distribution layer. So in that case, for you can create VLAN in access layer, but they don't communicate with each other. For that, you need a distribution layer. So we're talking about two-tier. So it's a distribution layer. In two-tier, we don't have a core layer, and there is no data link layer. So this is incorrect. So these are so in normal three-tier technology, we have core, distribution, and access. But in two-tier, we only have these two, and obviously you can't communicate between different devices in layer 2 because access layer is mostly layer 2. That's why it's a distribution layer, so it's a layer 3. It's correct. So I'll finish it for now. You can go on the website, go through the theories. I've made it easy for you. Go through the questions. If you have any, go through the quizzes. So if you have any questions, leave a comment and I will definitely make sure that I explain it to you. So thank you for your time, and I will see you next time.